Good morning. It's January 4th, 2019. It is a Friday. Yesterday I went out, did a full days of driving. Really was frustrated for the first couple of hours. There was hardly anything. But I plowed through. I didn't let myself get discouraged. And I ended up making a really pretty decent day. We'll get back out there in a few more minutes and get going with that. I found something interesting on the internet today. Again, it's another one of those born on this day kind of things. Uh, on this day in, what did I write down here? 1581. James Usher was born. Now, that's not a name that you're probably going to be familiar with. James Usher was, and I've got the Wikipedia page up here, so I'm making sure I get it, at least what some people think are right. James Usher was the Church of Ireland Archbishop of Armagh and Primate of all Ireland. I don't have a clue what any of those mean, although it sounds pretty high up in the church. Anyway, he was, as I said, born in 1851, and between 1625 and it looks like his death in 1656, he was very high up in the church there indeed. Now, the thing that he's most famous for, at least in my circles, coming from sort of the astronomy and skeptic side of things, he is known as one of the people that calculated the age of the earth based on biblical clues. Now, I've heard a couple things about him that he might have picked the date before actually doing the calculations, or the calculations were definitely somewhat questionable given the non-specifics of the dating in the Bible, if you will, and certainly contradictions between different textual sources and whatnot. But this is what he came up with. And it's the date. If you find a skeptic or some other anti-religion person, they're going to generally pull out this date, and kind of for mocking reasons. But wow, it's such a specific date. Not only did he decide that the universe, the earth, the world was created 4,004 years before the birth of Christ, 4004 BC, but it also occurred in the autumn, and not just that, but in October. And this is the exact quote from his work now, that the universe was, that the date of creation as the entrance of the night preceding the 23rd day of October, the year before Christ, 404 BC, which puts it, according to the Julian calendar, right around 6 p.m. on the 22nd of October, 4004 BC. So if you ever get asked, when was the world created, that is as good of a date, I suppose, as almost any other. Certainly going to be more precise, but common science today tells us it's not very accurate at all. Anyway, James Usher is just one of those names that popped up, and I definitely have heard of him. And I think the last thing I want to say is the first time I actually ever heard this date was in a science fiction fantasy book co-authored by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. I don't think Neil Gaiman was Neil Gaiman just yet. I think he might have been fairly well known, but this is one of his earlier textual works. I think he was making graphic novels before that, and I think it's something he still does. Anyway, that name turns out to be pretty big in the science fiction, fantasy, comic book world right now. And Terry Pratchett is an old name in the field. He was very, very popular. I think he had the Xanth series, or Discworld, I'm sorry, Discworld series, which I never got into. It was just too many books. But this is a delightful little book. It's called Good Omens, and it looks like they're making it into a TV series on some network I don't get. And it's about Armageddon, and it's a comedy. The two leads are an angel and a demon, and kind of the comedy of errors of the apocalypse, actually. It's